Hi everyone, this is Sharon. For this month's design team project for Raindrop Lila, I thought I would take you along on a little craft with me video and we can make this birthday card together. It's a trifold birthday card using a couple of images from Lydia's kits. I tied it up with this little organza ribbon and I created an accordion style card. And when I finish it, I will write my final sentiments in here and it will be completed. So stay tuned if you would like to make your own. Okay, so for the base of our tag, I took this image, and this comes from Lydia's Neutral Botanical Tags kit. And it comes on a sheet like this. I resized it a little bit larger than the original just to get it to a size that I wanted for my card. And then I also printed, now this I printed on cardstock, and then I printed a second copy on regular copy paper. And what I thought I would do is just tear these inserts out and tape those on to each panel, similarly to what she's got here in her collage. And I just thought that would give a little bit of extra dimension to those. And then on the back side, I printed this beautiful image of the swans. This comes from her Swan Lake artwork kit. And I thought by doing that, once I cut these tags apart and then reassemble them so that I have my accordion style card, once that's opened up, there will be a nice continuous flow of this image on the backs. So my first step will be to cut each of these tags out. Okay, so I've got my tags cut out. Okay, so they're going to go like that. So I think next, before I attach those, I am going to adhere my botanical panels down. So I'm going to tear these with a tear ruler. Okay, I've got all of my panels cut. Get rid of my scraps here. And what I think I'm going to do is just do a little bit of rounding on these corners so they're not so peaked, because the originals look like they're sort of torn and tattered. Okay, and then I am going to do a little bit of inking around the outsides of those. I'm going to use my gathered twigs. That's usually what I use if I ink. And especially on the corners, just get rid of any white from the cutting. Okay, I think that gives it just enough of a distressed look around the corners and the edges. Okay, so if we bring our tags back, let's just work on one at a time here. So I think I'm going to glue down the sides, because when I hinge these, I want to make sure that these sides are down well and not kind of loose, but I'll leave the tops and bottoms loose just to give it a little dimension and kind of a look like it was taped on. And then I will use some of my distressed tape and put that over the top to give it a really authentic look. I'm using art glitter glue in this little bottle to adhere these down. So I'm going to stick that right on there. And then our next one. Having the digital kits available for making greeting cards is really quite a treat. Years ago, before I really got into purchasing digitals, I would always have to come up with things that were a little more time consuming, I would say. But now I have all these beautiful images available, so I just kind of peruse and see what I might want to put together for a card. Okay, so we've got our 3 panels glued down. And now I'm going to take some of my distress tape, and I'll just tell you a little bit how I make my tape. I know there are a lot of tutorials out there for this. I just use regular old Scotch tape, gift tape, and I use this alcohol ink by Ranger. This is caramel, I like that color. And what I do is I find a piece of waxy paper. I lay down strips of the plain tape all the way down my piece of paper, and then I take the alcohol ink and just squirt it on there. Then I take an old makeup brush and even it out across the whole thing, even but not real even, so I've got, you know, a variation in color. And then I let it dry, and then I've got a whole sheet of tape ready to be used. It goes really quickly. So what I thought I would do is just take some of this tape and cut some of that up and put those on. I think I'll cut these in half or tear them in half so it looks really authentic. Okay, so I'll put this one up here, kind of where Lydia had her tapes on her image. And I think that just makes it look like a nice old vintage ephemera piece. So I'm just going to cut that off. It peels off the wax tape or the wax paper really nicely. Okay, and then this one. And then this last one, let's see, do I want to go darker now? I'll use this lighter part here. And again, I'll just kind of tear that. There, I like the caramel color that adds to the pieces. Okay, so next I am going to reattach these 3, and as I'm looking at them, I think I might just ink around these edges a little bit. Don't like how kind of white and stark they are. There is a black edge around these. I mostly cut that off. It shows a little bit on some of them, but that's fine. Okay, so to attach my panels, I'm using some cheesecloth, and I just cut some strips that will be long enough to attach these. And I would say they're about 3/4 of an inch wide. And I'm going to put them on the front and the back, so I've got 4 of them. So let's see, get these in order now this time. I think I'll start attaching on this side so I make sure I have them in the right order. So let's start with these 2. I'm just going to put a piece of paper underneath for gluing purposes. I'm just going to use this cheesecloth is very thin, and I found that it works really easy to just use a narrow glue stick to adhere those to paper. So I'm just going to go along the edge. And lay that down. Now before I attach it, I think I'm just going to cut this. No, I can't cut that all the way down. Let's see. I better cut it after. On second thought. I'm just going to cut it down in that peak along the top. Okay, let's get that out of the way. And then I leave just a very tiny gap so that it can fold easily between the two panels. Okay, and then we might as well go ahead and glue this side down as well. Oops, I got sticky fingers. Okay, so now I'm just going to run this down the entire seam. And then grab one of my pieces. Okay, and then our next panel. Strip down. And this inside panel is where there's a lot of blank space here, so that's where I'm going to put my little birthday message. This particular card is going to my daughter-in-law. Okay. And then get these lined up. And I've got a nice scene on the back with these pretty fabric strips in between. And then I just have my last one. Right here. This cheesecloth does leave little fibers everywhere. Okay, and then get that down. Okay, so we've got our panels connected. Now I am going to grab, I need to grab a sharp scissors. Okay, I've got my fabric scissors. I'm just going to trim off these bottom pieces. And then I'm going to, let's see, how do I want to do this? I'm going to fold it and then just cut these angles. Yeah, that looks okay. And then this side. Okay, so my thought is to fold it like that, and that'll be our front. And then our inside panels, I can write something in there. And then we've got this back side. So the next step is to put a happy birthday stamp on the front. And I've got a set of happy birthday stamps. And this is old, probably 15 to 20 years old, but there's all different fonts in this set. I just got them thrown in this baggie. And this is the one I selected from the set. So I thought I would just stamp that onto a piece of old book page, and then I can glue those onto there. I decided to use this dark blue color, and this is my favorite blue color these days. I know my light is reflecting on there. It's VersaFine Twilight. It's kind of a really deep, sort of a turquoisey blue. I don't know how to describe it, but I like it. Okay, I think I'm going to do 2 of those because I want to tear them out. I don't want to have it going straight across. I think I'll put happy and then birthday under it. So I'm just going to stamp a second one. Okay. So now I think what I'll do is kind of fold this over so I can tear it. Oh, that's too close. Up a little bit. Okay, so I'm just going to tear out this happy and get it as close to this bee as I can without seeing the bee. Okay. And then tear across the bottom. That's one nice thing about old book page. It does tear pretty easily if you just crease it. Okay, so I'm going to put my happy up here and then do the same thing with birthday. Try to tear this close to the Y. Okay, so maybe something like that. I think I'd rather have it up there than down here. Or would I? Yeah, I think I'd rather have it at the top. Okay, so I'm going to glue those down. Okay, we've got our happy birthday on there. I thought maybe on this top panel I would just put a little hole in there and put a little string on the front. So I'm going to use my 1/8 inch punch. And I've got a piece of twine here, so I'm just going to thread that through. Okay, so I've got everything pretty much put together. And the last thing I thought I would do is to just tie this up with a little piece of ribbon. And I pulled out this nice light organza ribbon. I think that'll work nicely. Sometimes I do envelopes with my handmade cards. Sometimes I just tie them up with ribbon. This one is not real long, so I'm going to have to improvise a little bit, but I think that looks nice. And we have our happy birthday card, and I think that came out quite nicely and came together pretty quickly. So I hope you enjoyed that little craft with me today. Until next time, bye-bye.